This is a two-part series. There's going to be one dropping, which is the one you're watching right now at 3 p.m. Eastern. The second part, 6 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you stay tuned. This is how to build the best team. The accent kicked in right there. But this is how to build the best team strictly off of attributes. The second one is how to build the best no money spent team. So let's jump right into this. This one will require no grinding. It will just require stubs or getting lucky through doing packs. The second one will require a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of offline grinding. If you're new here and up new in today's content, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that red subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell. It would mean a lot to me. Go ahead and follow me on all my socials, which are listed above me. I'm pretty active in Twitter and Instagram. And then click on the channel, more Bhlademyst, subscribe to my other channels, and then community tab. I'm pretty active there. So make sure you stay tuned there as well. So let's jump right into this. So if you're brand new to MLB The Show, this might seem overwhelming seeing all of these attributes, but I'll tell you which ones are important and which ones you don't want to pay attention to. So for a hitter, there's right and there's left. That's why you see an R and an L. What this means is whenever a pitcher is thrown from the right-handed side, the numbers that a hitter is going to be using are the contact versus right and the power versus right. When a pitcher is thrown from the left-handed side, meaning he's thrown with his left arm, the numbers that are going to be used for your hitter is going to be the contact versus left and the power versus left. Then everything else is universal regardless of the hitting or regardless of the pitching hand that the pitcher is using, meaning the vision, discipline, clutch, bunt, drag bunt, and durability of a player. Now, what does contact do in the game? So contact, it affects two things. It affects your plate coverage indicator. The higher the contact number is for the hitter, the bigger the PCI will be for the hitter when facing a pitcher. For example, looking at Mike Trout, since he has 116 contact versus right-handed pitching, that means that his PCI will be much larger versus right-handed pitching than it will be versus left-handed pitching, considering he has a 97 contact versus left. That's the first thing the PCI is going to be affected by. It's also affected by vision. We will get to that, but that's the first thing that contact does when we're talking about impact on the game. The second thing that contact does is it basically dictates how much of a success rate you can have with that hitter once you place the PCI within any near territory of the ball in terms of getting base hits. Those are what contact numbers do. And the contact, when it comes to PCI, it also scales in terms of difficulty. So at veteran difficulty, if you have a player with an enormous number in terms of contact, like Mike Trout, 116, at veteran difficulty, the PCI will be enormous. On all-star difficulty, it slims down. On Hall of Fame difficulty, it slims down even more. And then at legend difficulty, since that's the hardest difficulty in the game, it will slim down to the smallest degree possible. But players with high contact numbers, the PCI will still look enormous or a lot bigger than players with low contact numbers. Now, what does power versus right and power versus left mean? Now, unlike contact and vision, this has no impact on your PCI. What this goes ahead and impacts is the chances of you getting an extra base hit once you square up the ball. So for example, I'm using Mike Trout against a right-handed pitcher and I square up the ball perfectly. I have an enormously high percentage of getting an extra base hit with this Mike Trout because his power versus right-handed hitters is 125. The same thing with left-handed hitters, or excuse me, his power against right-handed pitchers is 125. The same thing with left-handed pitchers. Since his power numbers are a lot greater than his contact numbers, that even boosts him even more to get an extra base hit once he makes solid contact. That's what power numbers do. They basically influence how much of an occurrence extra base hits are going to be for the player. The higher the power numbers are, the more extra base hits the players are going to get, meaning more doubles, more home runs, more triples, etc. Vision, as I said previously, this is one of the attributes that's going to go ahead and just affect your play coverage indicator. It does nothing but that. It affects the size of your play coverage indicator. It's a balance between contact numbers and vision numbers. The only difference is that vision is universal, so it doesn't matter what hand the pitcher is throwing from. He could be throwing left-handed, right-handed, he could be throwing with his head. It does not matter. Your vision is based on how well the player performs in real life in terms of strikeout percentage. Then we go to discipline. Discipline has no effect on the game this year, so this is a worthless stat when it comes to the game, when it comes to looking at players. You don't want to look at attributes that have discipline in terms of high discipline, thinking it will either A, make the player better than the other, or B, break the game. Discipline has no impact on the game because now check swings are based on user timing. Before check swings were based on user timing, then discipline will allow you to get more check swings with players with higher discipline and less check swings with players with lower discipline. Now clutch, this attribute is how your player performs in clutch situations, runners on base, 2 outs, runners in scoring positions, and you're trailing, etc. The higher the clutch is, the higher the success rate the player will have in getting that clutch base hit, that clutch home run, double, triple, etc. Bunting is exactly what it says. The higher the bunting is, obviously, the better of a bunter the hitter will be in terms of getting a successful bunt down, regardless of whether it's a sacrifice bunt or just a bunt for a base hit. A drag bunt, that's the drag bunt, or I should say that's the bunting technique in which you're trying to get a base hit. The higher it is, the higher of a chance you have at getting a base hit. A lot of people don't bunt in this game, so you're most likely never going to look at those two attributes and say, gee, this player is going to be the best player on my team because his bunting is the highest in the world. Another attribute that doesn't really affect the game is durability. I know that in previous MLB The Shows like 17, durability would affect the game in terms of your players getting injured mid-game, but as of late, I have rarely ever seen players get injured, so durability and discipline are the only two attributes from the hitting side that you normally don't really care about. When it comes to fielding, those are the bars that are green. Now, fielding is exactly as it looks or as it sounds. 94 fielding for Mike Trout means diamond tier fielding inside the game. Inside the game, your fielding is different than whatever the defense rating is on the top of the card over there. So with 94 fielding, that means Mike Trout is a diamond defender in the game. If he had 80 to 89, that means that inside the game, he would be a gold defender, regardless of him having a diamond tier defense label over there. If it was 70 to 79, he would be a silver. And then I believe it's 60 to 69, he would be a bronze. Anything under 59 or under 60 is common. So here, Mike Trout is a 94 fielder. That means that he's going to be catching the ball at a very successful rate. When we're talking about his arm, that's just his arm strength. The higher the arm is, the higher the arm strength, the harder he's going to be able to throw home. And it's also going to impact how fast the ball gets there, etc. Accuracy, how accurate he's going to be throwing. If you don't have button accuracy, it's basically going to take this into consideration when it comes to throwing to certain bases. But if you do have button accuracy on, what it does is, based on the accuracy of a player, the green margin will either be smaller or bigger. The higher the attribute is, the bigger the margin is going to be for throwing correctly to bases. And then reaction, this is one of the most undervalued attributes inside the game, but reaction makes a complete difference when it comes to the player. The higher the reaction is, the better the defender the player is. Because if a player has 90 and above, that means he has diamond reaction, and it's the same scaling system as we had with fielding. So with Mike Trout having 93 reaction, that means that he's going to be getting great jumps on whatever ball is hit. As it starts scaling down, it means that it's going to be more frequent. Holy cow, that's on me. I forgot I had my alarm set on. But let me disable that before it goes in again. And yes, we're doing this in one take, so I don't go ahead and cut anything out. So the higher the reaction is, the better jumps he's going to get. as the reaction starts decreasing, as it starts going down to gold, as it starts going down to silver, as it starts going down to bronze, and as it starts going down to common, keep in mind, it doesn't change unless it's the live series player and they affect it. But the lower the reaction is, the more bad jumps the player is going to get off the bat. Whether it's in the infield or in the outfield, he's just going to either have a bad reaction or a late reaction. And it's the difference between getting to a fly ball, getting to a ground ball, or even properly fielding the ground ball or properly fielding the fly ball. Now, speed, steal, and then the last one is base running aggressiveness. They're pretty much straightforward. Speed is how fast a runner is, especially when he's on base, and it also impacts how fast he is inside the outfield. Stealing is how effectively he can steal bases, and then base running aggressiveness is basically how effectively he can run the bases. So let's say someone hits a shot in the gap. If you have a runner with high base running aggressiveness, there's a good chance, especially if he has good speed, that he's going to score all the way from first. If he has low base running aggressiveness, he might take a little bit longer while rounding the bases, etc. And that's where base running aggressiveness comes into play. So that was Mike Trout. I just want to give you guys a quick example of someone having diamond tier fielding or defense, as you guys see up there, but in the game and not being a diamond tier defender. So Mickey Mantle is a perfect example. He has diamond tier defense, but his fielding inside the game is actually gold because it's an 87, and his reaction is actually gold because it's an 88. So Mike Trout at center field, his card, MVP card, is actually a better defender than this prime card of Mickey Mantle. So I just want you all to keep that in mind. And then when we go to pitching attributes, these are fun to get into as well. So stamina, pretty straightforward. It basically dictates how many pitches a pitcher can throw before he runs out of energy. Hits per 9, it dictates, or it doesn't dictate. It does two things as well as the contact numbers. One, well, not two things, excuse me. Hits per 9, all it does is it impacts the success rate of your opponent getting a base hit from squaring up the ball or getting the PCI near the ball. The higher your pitcher's hit per 9 is, the lower the chances of your opponent to get a hit are. Case per 9, what this does is, and this is where the game gets even more difficult for opponents or for hitters because it's a strategy game. The higher the K per 9 of the pitcher is, the more he shrinks your PCI. That's basically what case per 9 does. It increases or decreases the PCI of your opponent dependent on how high the K per 9 is for your pitcher. So if your pitcher has a really low K per 9, the chances of your opponent getting his PCI decreased are very slim. But if your pitcher has a K per 9 like Scherzer, which is 109, his PCI in terms of the opponent is going to be shrunken by that high K per 9. Walks per 9, it's like the control rating is going to impact basically how effectively you can throw pitches inside the strike zone and limit the walks, especially when you're behind the count. Walks per 9 helps you out in terms of throwing strikes. Home runs per 9, that attribute does not count in Diamond Dynasty or in any online game mode, just like discipline. They are only important in offline game modes. And then when you go to pitching clutch, just like hitting clutch, you get yourself in a difficult situation when pitching clutch takes over, and it basically either influences or helps you get out of that situation. Control, it's the control of your pitches, how well you can throw them where you desire. Obviously, it also takes into account every single pitch, but there is no way, at least in MLB The Show as of right now, that you can see the control per pitch type. I'm pretty sure that there's a separate website that you can go to where you can see this, but if you want me to go ahead and just break it down pretty simply, when you look at the pitcher's repertoire, the first pitch is the pitch he has the highest control of, the second pitch, second highest control, third pitch, third highest, and so forth. So the first pitch most likely is what that 92 control is attributed to, and then the second pitch he probably has lower control, and then as you go down he probably has lower control on those pitches as well. Velocity is overall how hard a pitcher throws, and then the break is how much movement his pitches have, and then the fielding, arm strength, accuracy, reaction. You guys already know the deal with pitchers. They usually don't have high fielding or high accuracy or reaction because fielders don't or pitchers aren't generally good fielders. Now, when I say that some cards are better than others and they're a lower overall, let's look at this Chipper Jones, right? And compare it to somebody like Evan Longoria. Now, third base and first base, those are two positions in Diamond Dynasty that you don't necessarily need good defenders. You need good defenders at positions like shortstop, center field, left field, and catching. Now, we look at this Chipper Jones, and you can see, because it's comparing the stats, it's comparing the attributes. Wherever you see a check mark on the left-hand side, that means the Chipper Jones has better attributes than Evan Longoria. So you see that Chipper Jones has better contact versus left, power versus left, has better vision, has better speed, has better stealing. Evan Longoria has better power, he has better arm strength, he has better arm accuracy, fielding, and reaction. Now, as I said, third base is not generally a position where you need a player to go ahead and have good fielding. So therefore, this Chipper Jones is usually a better card than that Evan Longoria. Now, if we want to compare it to a gold card, you will see, let me see if there is any gold card that I can compare it to. But in terms of creating the best team at launch for budget beasts, for example, you will be looking for players that either have high contact or high power. You're not really looking for fielding, because in the beginning of the game, fielding is not the most important aspect, but it's still an important aspect, especially as you go on later on. But for budget beasts, you want to focus in terms of hitting on getting players with high contact, high power. I would focus more on high power than high contact, because it's very rare for you to be up on Hall of Fame and legend pitch speeds within the first week of the game. And then for pitching, I would focus on players that have high hits per 9 and high K per 9, because that's what's going to go ahead and help you out the most. Now, part 2, we're going to be talking about how to build a team, no money spent. The reason we didn't go into the bullpen is because the bullpen is exactly the same thing in terms of attributes as starting pitchers. The only difference is that some of the bullpen arms have a lot less stamina, and that means exactly what you think it means. He's going to be able to throw a lot less pitches within a game. So if a pitcher with 100 stamina can throw 120 pitches without running out of energy, then a closer with 24 stamina can only throw something like 45 pitches, let's say, without running out of energy. Now, if you did end up enjoying today's content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on all my socials at Bhlademyst. Click on the channel, community tab, interact with me there, more Bhlademyst. Subscribe to my variety gaming channel and my reaction channel. As I said previously, like button, red subscribe button, notification bell, and have a blessed day and night. Stay positive, stay safe, stay blessed. I feel like I'm losing my voice as I'm talking. Have a blessed day and night. Stay positive, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace out.